Yeah, certainly the supply appears to be getting soaked up in the U.S. Treasury complex. What was interesting this week, and we didn't hear too much about it over here, but the German government had a big bond auction earlier this week, and the Bundesbank ended up picking up about a third of it. That auction, the bid cover was about 2/3 or something. They actually had less demand than there was supply. So that the German, obviously it's all in the Eurozone now, but the German government bonds are probably considered the second safest in the world, given the Bundesbank history for relatively responsible fiscal behavior. But those, they did not fill that auction. So, that is perhaps a sign, particularly given the supply that we know is coming down that particular pike. That may be a sign of things to come. Obviously, yes, there's been more talk about this week about what the Chinese may or may not do, but at the moment, certainly the treasuries are getting snapped up at very low yields. So that's the way it'll be until it's not.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to wrap this call up early because I really just don't have a lot to talk about. I'm here in Florida at this conference. If you're around, folks, look me up, say hello. I'm going to be writing all day. I got here early because the conference doesn't start until Sunday afternoon. I got here early so I could write and do my work for you guys on tomorrow on Saturday and do this short podcast with Greg. But, I think I really just don't need to say anything more. The dollar is flopping around. The markets are flopping around. I could do the Fosbury flop myself.
Okay.
Anyway, any final thoughts, Greg?
No, I would just note in the general news background this week, I presume everybody's heard that there's been another couple of Ponzi schemes, relatively small time by the standards of the big one, of course, that the SEC's latched on to. And also we've had, they're calling it India's Enron with that computer company. Oh,
gosh, yeah. Come on, let's talk about that a little bit. What was the name of the company again?
It's Satyam Computer,
Satyam, yeah.
It was listed on the New York Stock Exchange as well, and that was a situation where they tried to pull some funny stuff, moving some of the family owners' real estate into the company last month until it was basically a shareholders' rebellion. And then obviously this week the founder came out and said, well, we've been making stuff up around here for a little while, and that $1 billion in cash on our balance sheet doesn't exactly exist anywhere. This is the sort of thing that frankly is, for the bulls and the optimists out there, it is part of the bottoming process that these things come.
Well, you know what, Greg? I was thinking about writing about this, this week, or the issue is really trust. A lot of trust has been completely squandered and lost. I know Obama even mentioned it at his news conference. These hedge fund, this Ponzi scheme, the lying that's been going on, almost as a matter of routine, and this thing from India and so forth. You put your money in the market, people work hard, save, they trust people to make smart investments for them, and people are just lying to them and stealing from them. It's an amazing thing. It's something I really haven't seen in the 35 years I've been involved in the market. I've never seen anything quite like it. The only thing that came close to it, I thought, was the Hunt brothers and their silver shenanigans. But
when that happened in the late 70s, that was pretty much what always happens when people try and corner the market. And I don't think the situation's quite comparable, and that everybody back then knew who was not only knew that people were trying to corner the market, but knew who the players were.
Yeah.
Whereas, this time we're back where we were in late 2000, 2001, 2002 with Enron and WorldCom and Adelphia and Tyco and all the things that the cockroaches that came scuttling into the spotlight, back then, which is why I just refer to the phenomenon as frankly part of the bottoming process, which, let me make it clear, I don't believe that we go straight up from here by any stretch of the imagination. But you're absolutely right that it is a question of trust, and at the end of the day, if you're going to play in the markets, you've got to realize that at any given time there's a number of people who are trying to transfer your money to their pockets.
Yeah. I mean, I was watching the interview on Bloomberg with this taped interview that this woman in Texas family had lost all their money with Madoff, had been investing with Madoff since 1971.
Right.
And had just been giving him more and more and more since 1971. It was just sad listening to her tell her story to this CNBC Asia guy on Bloomberg, or a Bloomberg guy on the Asia channel. It was sad, and but there's just so much of it that's going on. It's just really very disturbing. And Christmas cards I'm getting from friends that are still trickling in, all they like to talk about, not to me directly, but to, my wife and I and our family. They're glad they're still working, or they thought they would never live through a 1929 environment and lost all this money, and, on paper anyway. I don't know if they've settled it, but, these are social friends of ours that we've had for years and years and years. We're not doing business together or anything, but it's an epidemic.
Yep, there is no question about it. The same people who were on television in March last year after the Bear Stearns exercise, saying that the economy would be turning around in the second half of the year. Well, guess what, guys? They're all back on television telling you that the economy is going to be turning around in the second half of 2009.
Yeah, they got to keep you in the house. They got to keep you in the casino.
I would just mention that, past performance is no guarantee of future results, but man, is it ever a good hint as to what might be going on. So,
well,
with that, Dave,
I shouldn't be laughing because we didn't have a good week. We lost money, so we'll probably just increase our cash position on Monday. But anyway, Greg, thanks again for being with me. And this time we're really going to end it here. So I'm not going to be posting on Monday because I'm, involved in this conference, but I should be able to do it on Tuesday. So, folks, we'll see you then. Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for listening, everybody. Same time, same place next week.